todos, ¿cómo están? Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Soy Miguel Miranda, esto es Match Sin Filtro. Gracias a toda la gente que nos ve a través de iHeartRadio, a través de nuestro canal de YouTube, a través de Match 99.3 FM y de nuestra estación dedicada a la música alternativa Vibes. El día de hoy estoy muy emocionado porque, bueno, ya podrán ver con quién estoy. Estoy con Ned Frank y John Moody, nada más y nada menos que de Franc Moody, una agrupación, un proyecto de synth pop que mezcla muchos elementos encaminados al funk, al disco, al synth pop, muchas influencias también que de pronto llegan a mi cabeza hasta del French touch, muchos sonidos que están girando en su cabeza, por ejemplo, si tienen algún plan de fin de semana, en una alberquita, por ejemplo, o si piensan salir de viaje. Yo creo que la música de Franc Moody definitivamente los va a poner en ambiente, así que vamos a dar la bienvenida. Ned, Frank, how you doing?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Fine, muy bien. Do you speak Spanish?
Yo hablar un poquitito de español.
Poquitito. Let's talk about your new album. We're so excited to talk with you about Into the Ether. But first, can you tell us a little bit of the story of the band?
Yeah. So the band, basically John and I, basically, however many years, maybe 10 years ago, we and a group of friends all ran this little warehouse up in Tottenham, up in North London. And it was basically a mishmash of about 13 of us in all. So we had like drummers, guitarists, bass players, people that didn't do much, horn players, whatever, a random collection of people. And we all had this big idea to build this studio, but the one problem was we had no money. So we thought, okay, we're going to host parties. So we're going to let's host some rave parties. So we host these warehouse parties to make basically to pay for the fact that we should try and build these studios. And they were basically these huge raging big parties that was kind of always on the edge of being, falling completely apart. It was chaos. And then at the end of that time in the warehouse, John and I were in two different bands, and both John and I were like, okay, well, let's start a writing project. We were kind of a bit sick of the touring stuff and the band and stuff. So we were like, let's become writers. And we quickly picked up, who is our now manager now, gave us advice, this guy called Adam, and Becky as well. And they sent us off to like do writing stuff. And we quickly realized that we weren't very good at kind of working out how to do that. And they quickly pushed us into an artist project. They said, why don't you guys write some tunes and maybe come up with an artist project? And we were like, oh, please, no, we don't want to do that again. And so that's how we started doing it. We wrote the first EP, which was all instrumental initially, which again was a bit like, oh, God. And then from that, they were like, you guys should play live. So first gig was in London, a place called Bermondsey Social Club in 2017. And we basically enlisted, we handpicked our friends who happen to be great players as well. So like Dan, Luke, Rosie, that was the first lineup. And then we got Amber later on. She was under the same management. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, basically. That was the early beginnings. But me and John started off really as members of this collective called The Arch in Tottenham. That's really how it began.
And how was your first approach to the music when you were younger?
Oh, it was very different back then, wasn't it, Neddy? It was like,
yeah, man.
We were hugely influenced, well, still are, but like the sound of the bands we were in were very much influenced by a lot of 50s and 60s rock and roll, especially Southern American stuff, Louisianan music. We used to love all that stuff. So we spent a lot of time schlepping around, playing with washboard players, Zydeco music, and tough blues guitar stuff. And so there's still definitely an element of that in the Franc Moody sound. But when we started the project, we definitely wanted to make it a little bit more contemporary, and started working with synthesizers, and also started using a laptop as opposed to using tape machines to record. So suddenly the possibilities were a lot greater, and also we couldn't fit a drum kit in our little studio at the time. So we started programming the drums, and that instantly gave it a bit of more contemporary edge to it. So that was definitely the origins, the influence.
We love your music because I think that it's the best sound maybe to make a road trip, or being in a pool, or dancing, or drinking with your friends, or having a good time. Anytime. And I want to know what's the main idea of the Into the Ether, because I love the album. I love the sound of the album. We have a lot of kind of sounds, maybe disco. I think that maybe some crowd rock or something like that. And I want to know what's the main idea of the new album.
Well, so the main idea, the album, so I'll try and keep it concise, but we started the album, basically, we were midway through a tour and then COVID hit, like ever, and it stopped everything. That was the Dream in Colour campaign. And so John and I were like, okay, we're going to start writing an album, whilst we can, because we were touring. And we just wanted to come up with, John was always like, oh, we should set it in the desert. And then that idea expanded into this kind of this Sergio Leone inspired, the kind of spaghetti westerns with people like Clint Eastwood, and the kind of soundtracks, Ennio Morricone soundtracks, and that kind of inspired us to kind of set this into the ether within that context. And I think the story behind it was, when we normally, as a band, there was 7 of us, including the sound man, and we'd travel in our little crap van, and we wanted to kind of set that, when we couldn't do it, place those characters, us in the band and stuff, within that desert spaghetti western style setting, and kind of write about the adventures we'd had, some real, some imagined, and stuff like that, and place it within that context at a time when we couldn't do it. So Into the Ether is very much about dreaming of being out on the road in this mad, basically like the Odyssey, a version of the Odyssey, a mad version of it. That's kind of the idea, really.
We have 11 songs. Personally, I love Raining in LA, but I want to know what's your favorite song of the album.
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, I like a few of them. There's one at the moment which I'm really enjoying playing live, which we put in the set. We've been teasing it in the set for the last few months. It's the last song. It's called In Transit, and that's a really fun one. But I think my favourite overall tune on the record has to be a song called The Seven, because it very much sums up the concept we were trying to get over. It, I think, in its purest sort of purest package, I suppose. Also, just the way it fell apart is quite sort of. It sort of moves me. It really sort of like snapshots of period of time for me of writing it, but also I feel like we just kind of, in my opinion, sort of nailed what we were going for, which makes a change.
And what about you, Ned?
I'm with John. I think The Seven for me is probably the one that kind of is the most kind of makes me feel nostalgic about writing it, and it's the one that epitomizes the record as a whole. Yeah, definitely. Same as John.
We love your work, and we want to know, do you have any plan to maybe play this album in Mexico City? I saw you for the first time here in Departamento, maybe 2 or 3 years. Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Nice.
That was the first time I heard your music, and I was like, what is this? Who is? And since then, I follow your work, and I want to hear this on a live show here in Mexico. Do you have any plan?
100%, man. I mean, that's awesome you were there at the Departamento, by the way. That was very raw, cool show, wasn't it? It was great fun. And it was a long time ago now, so I think we're definitely overdue a headline show in Mexico. Yeah. We just played a Canberra festival, and we're coming back to DJ at Holy Shit Festival, but the live experience is the one that we want. But I'm 100% sure that it will happen at some point next year.
Okay,
but there's nothing we can actually officially report back at this present time.
Yeah.
Although
it will happen.
Yeah.
Very good news, guys. Now, I want to know, what about the work on studio? How do you work when you're making a new album? How did you start? And we want to know everything.
So for this record, it's kind of dependent on the song. I guess everyone started differently, but normally, you know, John might bring in a bass line or a beat or some keys, like some synth lines, or I might start with some chords and a few lyrics and melodies and stuff like that. And then for this record, we'd send stuff over because we were in lockdown. John would send some stuff and I would send some stuff back, and we'd build tracks separately. And it was quite fun because you'd find you'd have a few tracks being built at the same time. Like you'd send over like 2 or 3, and then like I'd be like, okay, cool. In a couple of days, I'll send John over some stuff I put on top. And that was dope. I'm actually doing it like that. But both of us in the studio. Oh shit, what happened there? Oh, Miguel, how's that?
We lost you momentarily. Yeah, you're back now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so but now we're back in the studio. It's just me and John, you know, writing tunes, same sort of stuff, like just jamming out some ideas. We're now thinking of trying to write the next album, so we actually just spent some time in Malibu doing some writing, which was really cool, and got a few cool ideas from that. But we're trying to again conceptualize it and place the record in a setting, which I think often helps in terms of the sound and the sonic and stuff.
We also always have one eye on the live set and the live sort of project, as it were, when we're writing. You know, I think it's very important to like the energy of the song, and also you know, thinking about where something could go in the set, how the live set can be bolstered away. So it's always quite important to have one eye on the live.
Guys, do you have some extra songs? Maybe to make a deluxe album or something like that?
We've got loads, but I'm not sure you want to hear them.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've got so many bad songs. We've got so many bad ones.
Okay, guys. Oh, thank you so much for being here, for joining this interview. We're so excited to hear the new album. Well, I already did, but we want to the Mexican people, listen to the new album Into the Ether and love your work as I love you. So thank you so much. Man. And finally, something else that you want to add?
Oh no, I just want to say thank you so much for the support, and we can't wait to share it with everyone on Friday. It's a huge moment for us, so thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Soy Miguel Miranda de Match 99.3 en la Ciudad de México. Esto fue Match Sin Filtro con Franc Moody. De verdad, no se pierdan Into the Ether, el nuevo álbum, porque está 10 de 10. Se lo puedo recomendar. Ya viene sellado, garantizado de que es un gran álbum. Yo se los recomiendo ampliamente. Así que en cuanto esté afuera, vayan a escucharlo. Nos vemos la próxima.